thinking range. This is a card that'll get a delayed c-bet a lot from air, and so I'm going to go ahead and check it back to I have a seizure. And once it does not get bet, it's extremely unlikely that anybody has a better hand than me. So I'm going to bet in order to have them call with Queen X or Pocket Tens or whatever just gets curious. So it's extremely likely I have the best hand. It's very unlikely I have a seizure will bluff at the river if he did not bluff at the turn. So for that reason, I am going to get the pot chipped my way a lot, whether it's via folds or whether it is via a call from a worse hand. Although I don't really think that my range includes a ton of bluffs, I guess. I mean, just looking at this board, I don't think my range really includes a ton of bluffs. I guess I could have, like, 9-10 suited or something like that, or I don't know, 4 or 5 suited and just decide to bluff. This is a relatively loose call, but it's suited, and we're deep. So I'm going to go ahead and call. The flop comes ace-5 or king-5-9. This is actually a pretty good spot to lead. I only say that because I went all in town. I'm not going to call here, obviously. I might call with like 9s or better, just in the off chance that I think that it's extremely likely he's making this specific play with lower pockets than pocket 9s. But 5s get beat by a lot of those pockets, so I'm going to fold. With the ante tables, and because I'm deep and the blinds are deep, I'm always going to be opening to at least 3x. I think that it's safe to say that with a little bit more risk, it's better. You're better off opening, and also I'm not afraid of anything like opening to 1 or opening to 2, the min raise or something like that. This is an ISO sometimes and sometimes not an ISO. I'm just going to check it. It's a raise very often for me. And because the pot is not built, this is one of those board textures where, okay, I'm just going to raise it up. This is the guy that jacked it in last hand, so what I'm going to do is just raise it up and not think twice about it. I think his leading range is probably pretty wide and includes a lot of draws and a lot of worse pairs and a lot of pair plus straight draws and all kinds of shit like that. So I'm just happy getting as much money in as possible. I'm going to go ahead and bet 80% of the pot on the turn. It is a big bet. I could even bet bigger, perhaps, but I could even bet like 85 or something. I'm going to bet as much as I can sort of conceivably bet, and the river keeps running out good for me. Now, what I say it keeps running out good is it keeps running out in a manner that he should think I'm going to keep bluffing at it. However, if he's just a level 1 player and looking at his cards on the board, it's possible he doesn't know that, and it's possible I'm scaring him off of a hand like, 7 king or some bullshit like that. I think I'm going to shove. Flush draw missed, and I don't think see, the thing is, what I have to do when thinking about whether I should bet 225 or shove for like 1.4 pot, what I have to think about is, what is the difference between those calling range? I think he's calling me with ace x 100%. Okay, I think he's calling me with ace x 100%. He's never calling me with like 6x or 3x, like 3-4 or something like that. Guys just never call with those hands. He's never bluffing when I'm going to be getting like 10-1 if he were to shove. And I also think that he's never. Never folding 2 pair, obviously. So because flush draw, straight draw is missed, I decided to jack it in and just hope that he had ace x or some sort of 2 pair. Because betting 225, I obviously, if he has 2 pair ace x, he's obviously never folding. So if I bet 225, I would have been pretty unhappy about that. So the EV of betting on that river is going to be so hard to figure out. The EV of how much to bet. It's just absurd. I'm not deep with this guy, and my hand blows. I'm just going to fold. It's absurdly difficult to figure out if this is a spazzy type guy who can turn pairs into bluffs. If that's the case, then perhaps I should have bet something like 100 or something like that. But I'm relatively happy with my play. I think that he's a caller, and he probably had something like 7-8 or something, and I was just really not getting much out of him on the river no matter what. So obviously he is pretty dawkish. Going to make a slightly smaller than normal 3-bet, I believe. 3x, though, his initial raise. Seems like good size. I can have like ace-jack or better here for value. Maybe even 8s or better for value. Dude's from Croatia, and he's already jacked it in previously for like 70 big blinds over a single raise. So I suspect if he has even like Queen 10 here, he might just go ahead and be like, Geronimo and just go all in. Boom. Pocket 9. So this is what I would consider a little bit of a cooler for him. Especially since he's playing so many hands and he has less than 100 big blinds. So a little bit of a mini cooler for Preco, poor guy. Right hand side, because of stacks and stuff, I'm just gonna go ahead and check. I mean, I have like the shit end of my range that I would normally be raising if it got limped. Kind of a whatever. Okay, so when the king turns, I think it's like a must bet, especially when he checks so quickly. When a guy's checking so quickly, I think he's just like telegraphing to me that he's trying to give up. So I'm gonna oblige him obviously and take the pot away from him since he's basically trying to give it to me. Right hand side we have this pretty strong hand, King Jack offsuit. This is relatively interesting. I am going to isolate. My decision whether or not I'm going to isolate is whether or not these guys can limp call. Megaton has already limp called. Madman Mokte has not yet done anything has not yet jammed or been super aggressive. So I don't feel like I'm that worried about him doing that. My bet doesn't have to be big here. It's only 50, which is probably about 60% of the pot. When this guy min raises, motherfucker, I don't really expect him to have too much when he min raises so quickly, but there's also a pretty good chance he has 9x, and he's obviously not folding 9x. Left-hand side, I'm going to play this multi-way. It's probably a little loose to play multi-way, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. I'm going to go ahead and fold on the right-hand side. It feels like just nothing hits his range there. It really does feel like he doesn't have anything almost all the time. But the fact of the matter is that he can do that with 9x. That's what donks do with 9x. That's what tournament players do with 9x. They raise to find out where they're at. And, he wasn't just trying to find out where he was at. It's also pretty likely that he was not folding. So, even if, me shipping or me re-raising or whatever is just not going to send him the right message, and he's probably just not going to fold. So, if he's just not going to fold, then fuck it. I'm not going to try to get him to fold. A lot of people in my memoirs group and also just general LEGO members really just wanted to know how, a lot about what's going on as far as how the anti-games change things and this and that. And they really just don't change much. I mean, I don't know how else I can explain it other than they just don't change a lot. I mean, it's going to give everybody a little bit better price everywhere. But the fact of the matter is that, okay, Pecco came back. So I'm going to go ahead and ISO to pot with ace-8, with ace-7 off. My reasoning is because on the right-hand side, we obviously have the Nizzles. I bet 60. I give them some illusion of, I give Mad M Mod K some illusion of fold equity. I give these guys a lot of chance to put a lot of money in the pot with the second best hand. Yeah. So left-hand side, the thought process behind that bet sizing and ISOing and everything like that is that he's just going to call with an absurdly wide range. Now, once he calls, I do have some showdown value. Pre-dry flop, not a bad flop to see, but since I have some showdown value, I think I'm going to go ahead and check back and play the turn. A few things to note. This is a really good turn for our hand. First, it sort of doesn't get, it doesn't make anything sticky. It doesn't put anything out there. It's just a really solid card as far as keeping our ace-high best. Again, if we assume that his calling range is all small pockets and all sorts of bullshit like Jack 9 off and stuff like that. Okay, so he bets 29. This is just a snap call. I'm going to have the best hand extremely often. He's going to have stuff like Queen Jack, Jack 9, all kinds of bullshit. All that shit is in his range pre-flop, so it stays in his range on all streets post-flop. And the more that he misses, the more specifically that he has air more often than not. So I was extremely happy to make that call. And it didn't work out too good because he had a king, but fuck, he only bet 29 anyways, So sometimes guys are doing that as random, cheap, shitty bluffs. Sometimes guys are doing that with big hands. There's just huge ranges for everyone to do it with at all times. This is the guy that is limp called, and so because I know this is the guy that is limp called, I'm going to 3-bet him for value. that does not commit me to getting it into a shuttle.